Think about this for a second. Someone breaks into your home, takes everything of value, removes the leader your community voted for, installs their own guy, and then tells you it was all for your own good. Would you ever forget that? Iran hasn't. In 1953, the United States and Britain quietly dismantled Iran's elected government. A democratically elected prime minister was thrown under house arrest. A king was placed on the throne who spent the next 25 years bleeding his own people dry. And the reason for all of it? Oil. This isn't just Iran's story. It's the story of every nation that had something valuable beneath its soil and a powerful neighbor who wanted it. This story didn't end in 1953. It's still playing out today, just with different names and different faces. To understand what happened, you first have to understand the ground beneath Iran's feet. In 1908, oil was discovered in Iran for the first time. It was the first major oil discovery in the entire Middle East. And the moment that oil came out of the ground, Iran's fate changed forever. Just not in the way its people had hoped. Britain moved fast. A company was formed called the Anglo-Iranian Oil Company, the AIOC. Today, that same company is known as BP, British Petroleum. This company was handed complete control over Iran's oil. The deal went like this. Oil gets pulled from Iranian land. Britain sells it. Iran gets a small cut of the profits. How small? You won't believe it. A 1950 investigation revealed that in a single year, the British government collected more in taxes from the AIOC than Iran received in total payments. Iran was getting 16% of the profits from its own oil, drilled from its own land. The AIOC kept its financial records locked away. The Iranian parliament wasn't allowed to see the actual books. When the Iranian government asked for the numbers, Britain refused. For decades, ordinary Iranians watched their country's oil get sold off while their children went hungry. The Abadan refinery, at the time the largest oil refinery on Earth, sat on Iranian soil, and the Iranian workers running it were paid a fraction of what British employees earned. British staff had swimming pools, social clubs, and private residential compounds. Iranian workers had slum housing. That anger had been building for a long time, and one day, a man stood up and said exactly what the people had been waiting to hear. Mohammad Mossadegh was born in Tehran in 1880. He studied law in Europe, entered politics, and quickly became the most popular and most outspoken figure in Iranian public life. He was the kind of man who would show up to parliament in his pajamas and say things to powerful people's faces that nobody else dared say. People loved him because he felt real. In 1951, Mossadegh became prime minister, and from his very first day, he had one demand. Iran's oil belongs to Iran. In April 1951, the Iranian parliament passed a law that shook the world. The oil industry was nationalized. The AIOC was finished. Iran's oil was now Iran's. When the news broke, the streets of Tehran erupted. People wept. Strangers embraced each other. To them, this wasn't just legislation. It was dignity, reclaimed. Mossadegh even offered to compensate Britain for its losses. He wasn't trying to steal anything. He simply wanted his country's wealth to serve his country's people. London wasn't interested. Britain's response was immediate and ruthless. Every AIOC technician and employee was pulled out of Iran overnight. An international boycott was slapped on Iranian oil. No country was to purchase it or face consequences from Britain. American companies joined the boycott. The result was devastating. Iranian oil exports that had been worth $400 million a year in 1950 collapsed to barely $2 million over the following 2 years. The economy began to suffocate. Britain started working on pulling America into the conspiracy. Initially, the Truman administration said no. They saw this as a British imperial problem, not America's fight. President Truman even acknowledged that Iran's nationalization movement had legitimate grounds. But then, in January 1953, Eisenhower took office, and everything changed. Eisenhower's Secretary of State was John Foster Dulles. The CIA director was Allen Dulles. They were brothers, and both of them saw the world in one color. You were either with America or you were with the Soviet Union. There was no middle ground. Britain played this card perfectly. They convinced Washington that Mossadegh was drifting toward communism, that if Iran slipped out of Western control, the Soviet Union would have direct access to the Persian Gulf, and that the entire oil supply of the Middle East would fall into Soviet hands. It worked. Here's the thing that makes this even more disturbing. The CIA's own internal reports from 1952 and 1953 concluded that Mossadegh was not a communist, and that Iran's Communist Tudeh Party was nowhere near strong enough to take over the government. Those reports were ignored. In March 1953, the Eisenhower administration authorized the CIA to plan a coup in Iran. Operation Ajax was born. The CIA handed the entire operation to one man, Kermit Roosevelt Jr., the grandson of President Theodore Roosevelt, a seasoned intelligence operative, cool under pressure, exceptionally sharp, and willing to operate completely outside the rules. Roosevelt arrived in Tehran quietly, posing as an ordinary foreign visitor. He had a plan. It was simple on paper and deeply sinister in execution. Step 1. Propaganda. CIA operatives began planting fabricated stories in Tehran's newspapers. Mossadegh was portrayed as a communist sympathizer, leading Iran towards Soviet domination. Religious leaders were bribed to issue statements against him. Fake pamphlets were distributed in Mossadegh's name, containing anti-Islamic language, designed to turn the religious population against him. Step 2. The military. Iranian army officers were approached and paid off. General Fazlollah Zahedi was put forward as the candidate to replace Mossadegh, the same general who had collaborated with the Nazis during World War II. He was now the man America wanted running Iran. Step 3. The crowds. The CIA organized and financed hired mobs. Street thugs, paid political agitators, wrestlers from Tehran's bazaars. They were given money to pour into the streets, chant against Mossadegh, and create the appearance of a popular uprising. The plan was straightforward. The Shah would sign a royal decree dismissing Mossadegh. Zahedi would step in as prime minister. An American-friendly government would be in place. The first attempt failed completely. Mossadegh got wind of the plot. The Shah panicked and fled the country, first to Baghdad, then to Rome. British intelligence walked away and declared the operation dead. But Kermit Roosevelt refused to leave. CIA headquarters sent word to stand down and abort the mission. Roosevelt ignored the order. He stayed in Tehran, made more contacts, paid more bribes, and kept building. Then came August 19th, 1953. By early morning, the streets of Tehran were filling up. CIA paid crowds, bribed political operatives, and mobs inflamed by weeks of manufactured propaganda, all moving at once. Chanting, breaking windows, firing weapons. The city descended into chaos. By the end of that single day of fighting, approximately 300 people were dead. By evening, Mossadegh's home was surrounded. He escaped over a back wall, but surrendered himself the following day. General Zahedi became prime minister. The Shah flew back from Rome and took the throne. Mossadegh was put on trial for treason. He received 3 years in prison, followed by house arrest for the rest of his life. He died quietly in 1967, confined to his home, forgotten by the world that had watched him fall. America's reward came quickly. In gratitude for CIA assistance, the Shah signed over 40% of Iran's oil rights to American companies. Operation Ajax was a success, and the price of that success would be paid for decades. Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi was now America's man in Tehran, and he knew exactly what he needed to stay in power: fear. In 1957, with the direct assistance of the CIA and Israel's Mossad, the Shah created SAVAK, Iran's secret police. It grew rapidly into one of the most feared intelligence agencies in the entire Middle East. SAVAK shut down newspapers, planted informants inside universities, infiltrated political groups, and handed their leaders over for arrest. Its methods of interrogation included electric shock, beatings, and mock executions. By the late 1970s, Amnesty International had placed Iran among the countries with the world's worst human rights records. 8 consecutive American presidents provided the Shah with military and economic support, over $1 billion in aid in the first decade alone. The reason was simple: the oil kept flowing, and America kept a loyal partner sitting at the center of the Middle East. The Shah launched what he called the White Revolution: land reforms, women's rights, modernization programs. Some of it had genuine merit, but the way it was delivered was through force. Religious leaders felt their culture and identity were being dismantled from above. The population felt they had no voice and no protection. In 1963, when protests broke out, the Shah crushed them. Many were arrested. One religious figure was arrested and then expelled from the country: Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini. He spent 15 years in exile. He didn't forget. By the late 1970s, Iran was a pressure cooker with no release valve. Oil money had made a small number of people extraordinarily wealthy, while ordinary Iranians felt more powerless than ever. SAVAK's terror was present in every neighborhood. The religious establishment believed their civilization was being erased, and everyone understood that the entire system was being propped up by Washington. In January 1979, the Shah fled Iran for the last time. In February, Khomeini returned from 15 years of exile. Millions of people lined the streets to welcome him back. The Islamic Revolution had arrived. And then in November 1979, the Shah was admitted into the United States for medical treatment. The fear that swept through Iran in that moment was visceral and deeply rooted. People remembered 1953. They had lived through what CIA intervention looked like. The worry was immediate. Was America planning to reinstall the Shah the same way it had brought him back before? On November 4th, 1979, Iranian student revolutionaries stormed the American embassy in Tehran. 52 American diplomats and staff were taken hostage. The crisis lasted 444 days. President Carter's military rescue attempt failed catastrophically. The hostages were finally released in January 1981, on the exact day Ronald Reagan was inaugurated as president. U.S.-Iran relations were permanently destroyed. All of it, every piece of it, traced back to a single decision made in 1953. Closing, a lesson nobody wants to learn. In 2013, 60 years after the coup, the CIA officially acknowledged for the first time in its own words that yes, we orchestrated the removal of Iran's elected government. Declassified documents were released. The internal planning memos, the budgets, the operational details, all of it came out. But that acknowledgement didn't repair decades of damage. Today, Iranian children are still taught the story of 1953 in school. Today, when Iranian politicians need an argument for why America cannot be trusted, they say 1 year, 1953, and every person in the room understands. An old man who told the truth, elected by his own people, who wanted nothing more than for his country's wealth to serve his country's people. He was locked in his home and left to die. The government that replaced him spent 25 years terrorizing the population. The revolution that overthrew that government set Iran on a path whose consequences are still unfolding today. Nuclear programs, economic sanctions, regional conflict, and a level of hostility between two nations that shows no real sign of ending. It all started with one moment. One man said, "This oil is ours." And the powerful world answered, "No, it isn't." If this story made you think, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. There's a lot more where this came from.